Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the show. Glad to have you guys here on this Wednesday, the 14th of August, 2024. Anyway, there's a lot happening out there. We're going to get right into it. We're going to take a look at what's going on. I've been telling you the last number of days, this is kind of unbelievable to me, the fact that that they're invading Russia. Ukraine is actually invading Russia, and now they're taking more ground. Now, as of yesterday, I heard that they had taken 1,000 square kilometers. You want to know what 1,000 square kilometers looks like? Well, it would be a square if you're doing it in a square, but this is not a square. This is kind of an oblong piece of land, But if it was a square, it would be 63 miles one way across it and 63 miles the other way across it. So that's a good sized chunk of land. You know what I mean? I mean, it would take you driving across it at highway speed, which is fast, like over 60 miles an hour. It would take you in excess of an hour or more just to drive one side of it to the other. Both ways. That's a big piece of land. And they're taking more. They're taking more ground right now. They've taken another mile just in a day, making that even bigger. So what's it now? It's another mile wider both ways, I guess. So they're taking even more land right now. It says Ukrainian forces are pushing on with their major cross-border advance into Russia's Kursk region for a second week, claiming they took more ground, capturing more Russian prisoners, and destroying a bomber in attacks on military airfields. They advanced about 1 to 2 more kilometers, about a mile further into the area of Kursk on Wednesday. The commander of the Ukrainian military, General Oleksandr Surinsky or something, difficult to pronounce, said in a video posted on Vladimir Zelensky's Telegraph channel. So there you go. I mean, they're moving through and they're taking prisoners. Evidently, those are Russians sitting in the back of that truck there with their eyes covered with blindfolds. Looks like that one guy there with the green blindfold looks like duct tape or something over his eyes. Probably their hands are tied in the back as well, I imagine. Now, it says here, Ukraine hits 4 Russian air bases in the largest drone attack of the war. So they're not just doing that, they're also attacking Russian air bases. Evidently, I imagine it'd be inside Russia. It says Ukrainian long-range drones struck 4 Russian air bases overnight on August 14th. It's been described as the largest attack on airfields during the war. What are the Russians doing about all this? I don't know. I do know that absolutely it's strange. I just find it all very strange. The fact that what's actually happening in this. I mean, it's very unexpected. You think about Russia as being a very powerful military country, but can't they protect their own border? Just weird. I don't know. I'm just sitting here trying to explain it to you guys because I don't really understand it myself, how this could actually happen. It doesn't seem like the Ukraine forces are coming under much opposition either. Inside Russia, it seems like they're moving around with pretty much impunity. Now, this was an interesting article I come across this morning. A food bank in New Zealand, Auckland, New Zealand, they accidentally distributed a bunch of candy that was tainted. And this candy is severely tainted with drugs. Evidently, it's these pineapple candies, and there's a lot of them went out there. It's hundreds of people, I guess. A charity worker with homeless people in Auckland, New Zealand, unknowingly distributed these candies. And it says that up to 400 people they're having to track down that have these parcels that could contain the sweets. Several people were treated in hospital after consuming them. Uh, there's 300 times the level of what somebody would usually take, and it could be lethal. 300 times in these candies. It's a very dangerous situation. It says that the candies are worth $608 per candy on their street value for the drugs, I guess, they got inside them. And they're worried that people could unknowingly take them. This is just another strange, bizarre story out there, and you got to be careful. You know, even over here in America and stuff, you got to be careful around sweets now. You got to be careful to read the label and stuff, because there's an awful lot of infused stuff out there, you know. You gotta really be careful around kids, because kids just always just grab. You know, when I was growing up and I was a young guy, there wasn't any such thing as all laced candies. It was like, if you saw candy, you could eat it. You know, a story of, I mean, but there has always been a little bit of trouble, like going back. I remember my dad, you know, when he was just a young fella. I think he was only like 6 years old or something. Kids will eat candy, you know, and they had this box, looked like candy. Evidently, it was a box, but what it had in the old days. This was back like in the 1930s, I guess. So that's a long time ago. He was just a little kid. There was this box, and I guess it looked like a candy box, but actually, it was soap lye. And he reached in, he put it into his mouth, and evidently they were watching over him, so he's right in the room with them, but they saw him do it. They grabbed his hand, grabbed him, and tried to pull it out of his mouth and everything else, but it burned his mouth pretty bad and around his tongue and stuff, you know. But they caught him in time where it didn't do any much more damage, and he didn't get a chance to really swallow it, because they were watching him, you know. They were, his mother and I guess his grandmother or whatever were watching in the room, you know, and they were able to grab him in real quick and stuff and get it out of his mouth and everything else. But it burned his tongue, you know. But you go watch kids, you know, especially around things like candies, things like that, or things they might perceive as candies, you know, or perceive, even if the box is colorful or whatever, you know, they don't know. Kids don't know. But this is a case where this food bank has really got a problem there. Now, where's Russia? If Russia were to launch nukes, you know, they've got their targets. And evidently a secret nuclear dossier has been leaked, and it shows 32 of the targets shown on the hit list prepared by Putin's Navy. Where are they going to hit? It says documents depicting Russia's nuclear strike plan for multiple strategic targets in Europe and Asia have been leaked. Newsy.com has learned that the memorandum, which stresses the use of the country's Armageddon arsenal sooner rather than later, was composed a year before Vladimir Putin attacked Ukraine. The 29-page document proposal is characterized by attacks on NATO from various directions and names the United Kingdom as a priority target. So I guess for Putin, the United Kingdom is a priority target. And it says that it calls for a strike on the island's country with its military shipyard in Barrow and Furness in Cumbria, near UK's geographical centre, marked as one of the targets on an accompanying map. A specified area is depicted as a smokestack and is believed to be an industrial plant of sorts. So they plan on, they've got, this is probably not their only document. They probably have other documents as well showing their plan of where their targets are going to be for their hundreds of nuclear missiles. But you know, the West is the same way. They have their secret documents that show where they would strike in Russia. You know, it's all been planned out ahead of time, where these weapons, and they got a put the coordinates in the warhead and everything else so it'll go to its destined target. And they do all that ahead of time. It's already been planned and researched by both sides where they will strike. You know what I mean? But it just so happened they got a hold of this Russian nuclear strike plan, and they've got a hold of it, and one of their documents anyway, and they've seen some of the targets, I guess, for Russia's secret nuclear plan. Excuse me. Anyway, the U.S. Is the U.S. right now preparing for Israel-Iran war by deploying more ships into the Middle East? And the answer is, I would say the answer is yes. Yeah. They're going in there to protect Israel, but Israel is going to need protection. I mean, this whole thing is stirred up into a hornet's nest right now, and it's just about ready to explode. And they're pushing the ships in there just as fast as they can to try to beef up security around Israel. Right now, they're sailing full steam. So, as far as I'm concerned, the answer is yes. They're deploying more ships to the Middle East. Yes, they are. And are they preparing for what could be a widening of this war? Yeah, they're preparing for it. Big time right now, you know. Will it happen? Well, to answer that question, that's a difficult question. Will it happen? You gotta take a look into consideration what's got us this far, where the United States is rushing ships into the region. What kind of situation has got us this far into this? That there's this kind of a manic effort to try to prepare. That situation that got us this far, has it gone away? Has it got better? Or is it getting worse? You got to answer these questions, you know. And my mind is that the situation that's caused all this has not went away. In fact, it's getting worse as far as I'm concerned. And so ultimately, what's it going to lead to in the end? Now, looking back here to our country, is there's this big hustle on to bring electric cars everywhere and stuff. But they're facing headwinds. And you know, I said it before, maybe a couple shows ago, I was talking about how the big problem, as far as I see it with these things, is battery, you know, the batteries. Yeah, they work. They get the car about, I don't know, 300 kilometers or maybe 200 miles. You can go on a battery and charge, and it will charge and everything. So yeah, it does work. The system does work, what they have right now. But how does it compete with gasoline? You pull into the gas station, you put the nozzle in your car, you pull the trigger back, and in maybe 2 minutes, you've got the tank full and you can go 300 miles. Right? How easy is it to charge these things? How long does it take, and how far can you go? That's a lot of it, and what does it cost? I'm going to tell you what, if you charge at home, these things really are pretty hard to beat if you're charging at home. But it's slow to charge at home. But from what I understand, I was watching on several people that are doing their charging of their vehicle, and they said that they could charge it up for about $4 at home. It costs $4, $5, $6 along in that area. Not real expensive, considering that that's a lot cheaper than gasoline, right? But I was also watching, and they were talking about when they go to the EV charging stations. Well, anyway, I'll get into that in just a minute. Well, what's going on with this is this bustling site right here where they were poised to power the electric vehicle revolution, a $2.6 billion battery factory that's under construction in Lansing, Michigan, now sits at near a standstill as its future is frozen as the economic headwinds stall. Thank the Fed and their tightening schedule. But at any rate, this joint venture between General Motors and LG Energy Solutions have put this facility, I guess, on hold in July amid sluggish market conditions around EV demand. They intend to resume construction once it has a clearer understanding of the outlook. So uncertainties are abounding around all this. And this is big. This is $5.6 billion, $5.5 billion, I should say. Battering manufacturing complex. Massive. You can see it's a massive facility. Just look at the parking area. I mean, it's like Disney World. You'd have to remember where you put your car. You'd have to remember, is it court number C17 or is it B23? Where the hell's my car? That's how big the parking lot is in this place. Anyway, so there you go. Now, what I was talking about is I was talking about the charging of these things. It's only about maybe $4, $5, $6 to charge them at home. I was just wondering, you head down, say you own one of these things. I don't own one. I own an old gas car. I'm happy to have my old gas car, but here's what I'm going to say is I've heard from these people that own these things, hey, you charge at home for $4, $5, $6. But heck, you head out to the charging station. Say you want to make a trip someplace away from home. Cross country or something. You got to go to the charging station then, And it seems to me it's an awful lot higher at the charging stations. But what are they doing at the charging stations? I mean, they would probably be buying the power from the same company, or if your station's local, but it's probably a similar price that it would be. Maybe they're even paying a cheaper price for the power from the power company than you'd be paying at home. So let's say you paid $6 to fill your tank in your electric car at home. Okay? They might be getting a discount. These places, these charging stations, they might be getting that same amount of power for $4 instead of $6. But what are they going to charge you for it? All they're doing is just taking and bringing it down from the wire and letting you connect to it. But my question is, are they going to charge you 8 times, 10 times? What the? That's a big money maker for them. Let's not forget it. I mean, if they're doing that, and I'm thinking, hey, what's to stop them from doing it? Are there any laws out there that say they can't just go ahead and jack the price up as high in the moon as they want, whatever you will be willing to pay? Well, they figure to themselves, hey, all these electric car guys out there, they got all kinds of money. Let's make them pay. We drag it out of the power company thing there, and we only pay a pittance for it, maybe $3 to fill their car. Let's charge them $70. I don't know. I mean, I'm just making all that up. Kind of joking around a little bit here, but are they pulling that kind? What are they doing anyway? I'm just wondering about all that. Now, silver today is down 51 cents for no apparent reason. And I hear gold is hitting record highs. So I've always been watching that gold to silver ratio, and so evidently the gold to silver ratio would be moving. If silver's lost 51 cents and gold's nearing an all-time high, this gold to silver ratio would be very much skewed, and it has been for quite a while now. This is going to retrace. This gold to silver ratio is going to retrace. But we got to get into the big rally first for gold and silver before it starts to retrace. It's not going to retrace until we get into this big rally. And, it could retrace a lot. I'm actually expecting it to go to overshoot its old ratio. I mean, this is just absolutely absurd. 100 to 1, 80 to 1, 90 to 1, wherever it's at right now, or I haven't checked it, but it's probably 80 something to 1, right? Maybe 83 to 1 or something like that. I haven't checked it, though. I don't know. But I'm just saying these ratios of like 80 or 90 or 100 to 1 to gold are absolutely absurd. It comes out of the ground like right now, but I think it's like 9 to 1. That's where the ratio should be. But when this thing corrects, it's going to overshoot where it should be. It should be probably around anywhere. A nice ratio would probably be 15 to 1 or 20 to 1. That would be probably good. You know, not 80 to 1 or 90 to 1. But when it overshoots, I'm expecting it to go to 4 to 1 for a very short period of time when it overshoots. And I've been saying this for years, expecting this. But when's it going to happen? Toward the end of the massive gold-silver rally that's coming. So that might be quite a ways out when you get toward the end of it, because we're near the start of it, and it's probably going to be like a 10-year or 20-year long rally. It's going to be massive. And it ain't going to quit for gold and silver against these fiat currencies, because this is really the only real true value behind the entire world's financial system is gold and silver still. That's the only real value there. All the rest is what they call fugazi. In other words, it's fiat currencies that are created to infinity and beyond. But the real value behind all of it is gold and silver. But what they've done is they've played these games in the financial system, and the whole thing is a Ponzi system game. So in the end, it's going to filter. Everything's going to filter back out again in the end. And it's starting to. It's going to gain speed as people lose faith in the purchasing power of these fiat currencies. It's taken a long time, but it's going to get there in the end. It might take 10 or 20 more years, but it's going to get there in the end. And, you know, so this is for people who are looking for wealth to store away for themselves that's going to be multi-generational wealth. That's going to, like, if you buy this stuff and put it away for your grandkids, the system is going to purify itself in the end. And this stuff is going to really shine. And so you're going to look like a genius if you've bought this stuff and you've held on to it for a very long period of time. And somewhere in the future, you're going to look like a genius. Anyway, so now what we're taking a look at is cryptocurrencies. I almost said which is the exact opposite. That would have been a bad joke. But, you know, I just find this stuff absolutely amazing. The fact that they just basically created it, Bitcoin, and it was totally 100% worthless. And they were mining it for free. And you could mine it back then. You could just have like a 400 megahertz single core processor with not even a gigabyte of RAM, but just like a megabytes of RAM. You know, one of those old Pentium machines. You know, the ones that used to go click, 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 click. A 1983 Pentium computer or whatever. And you could, I think the blocks were 50 Bitcoins in a block. And that thing would bust a block like every 15 seconds. So you get like 50 Bitcoins every 15 seconds. If you had a computer like that. When the network was first established, you're the first miner on the network. You know? And so somebody was. I think they mined 1 million of them with some old computer. I think that wallet's still out there, to tell you the truth, you know. So we're looking at Bitcoin today at $59,075 a piece. Ethereum is $26.53. You know, this stuff would be absolutely worthless if the dollar was not a Ponzi scheme. That's just that simple. The fact that the dollar's a Ponzi scheme is the reason why Bitcoin is worth anything. And it's worth a lot. Look, $59,000 a piece. So XRP is 57 cents, and Ethereum is at 26.53, and Bitcoin is 59,075. Now, taking a look at our stock market today, our S&P 500 is down 9 points at 5,444. The Dow is up 226 points at 39,992. And we're looking at our crude oil is down 68 cents at 77.67. Taking a look at our bonds and rates today, we're seeing falling yields on the long end. So the U.S. 10 years fell 3 basis points, and it sits at 3.82, and the U.S. 30 years at 4.1, and it's fell 4.8 basis points. So the middle of the yield curve, though, is rising, about 1 basis point. So we got our 4-month rising 1.8 basis points to 5.15. It's the long end falling, and the middle is rising, and the short end is falling as well. Taking a look at the U.S. dollar index today, we're at 102.52, and the dollar's dropping today, but not significantly. Thank you guys for listening to my show. You guys have a great afternoon. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already, and hit that thumbs up button, and you can get to watch the videos earlier than everybody else if you become a member, and it only costs about the price of a sandwich every month. That's it. It's just what you go out and pay for a cup of coffee and a sandwich or whatever. That's a monthly cost, and you get to watch all the videos early. Plus, I do a show for members on the weekends that you get to watch that other people don't get to watch if they're not a member. And that really helps to support my channel, and I really appreciate my members out there. You guys know who you are. Thank you very much. Really helps support my channel. And we'll catch you guys in the next episode. Bye-bye.